questions I'm going to be posing to the next two panelists, because you mentioned several things that are related to the work that they do. So first I will address Martin. Martin, precisely as Dana was mentioning, like there's the issue of the deployment of technologies, like the challenge that you have when you have the new technologies, how to deploy them, the issue of public-private partnerships. So I wanted to ask you to give us, like what do you see, or how do you see is precisely the role of the network of organizations such as the energy centers that you are supporting in terms of helping with the deployment of these technologies and bringing these innovations, like how do you see that, like the process can be accelerated when you're talking about the deployment of the technologies, and if you can complement that with certain focus on, like what have you seen are like the best strategies to reach a last mile population, like the idea of helping to resolve this issue of accessing those communities that we saw in the maps that Andres showed us are harder to reach. Thank you. Floor is yours, Martin.
Yeah, thank you very much, Javier. And thank you for the previous speakers, also emphasizing the experiences from other regions. I think that is very valuable because, as it was mentioned before, some of the other regions, they work already since quite a long time on these decentralized models for mini-grids or standalone systems, and also on market development programs with that regard, which always have a supply and a demand side, let's say a consumer side, and then also a supplier side, where we are at the local entrepreneurs, which must be able to maintain these systems, but also participate in manufacturing and assembling and also servicing of those systems. And also here comes the importance of innovation in. I would like to briefly tap on the importance of regional cooperation in that regard, because it is the main field I'm working in, let's say. Just to say a few words about the global network of regional sustainable energy centers, which we are coordinating in close cooperation with the regional economic communities, such as the Economic Community of West African States. It was one of the first centers which we established in West Africa, has huge challenges with regards to electrification by grid, but also by off-grid systems, mini-grids in the rural areas. And basically, we replicated this model also in other regions in cooperation with other regional economic communities like the East African Community and the Southern African Community. And finally, we got a lot of demand also from other regional organizations, as in Asia, but also in Central America and also in the Caribbean. So we supported the previous years the establishment of the Caribbean Center for Renewable Energy and Energy Efficiency and the SICA Center for Renewable Energy and Energy Efficiency, where I have to say that we are not the owners of those centers. So from the very beginning, those centers should be owned by the respective regional organizations, so they become part of the usual economic integration efforts of the region. And here also we see the important role of these regional centers, and that is establishing a market for products and services with regard to renewable energy and energy efficiency, which is on the one hand grid-connected technology, but it is on the other hand a broad range of other products and services like energy efficiency also, or mini-grids or standalone systems. So through these regional centers, we try to create a technical capacity to implement the higher policy objectives of these regional organizations. Very often, there are nice policy statements, but at the end, then afterwards, there's no technical capacity to implement those regional policy targets, like we see also in the SICA, for example. And based on these regional centers helping the regional organizations then to really create the technical synergies, create economies of scale between the countries, and also stimulate spillover effects between the countries, and for sure also stimulate joint learning and cooperation between the countries. And here particularly, I could tell you some examples from some of the regions. Like, for example, the centers in Africa have all these regional centers have a strong focus on promoting decentralized systems. They all have mini-grid programs, promotion programs. And to develop the market, I think it was also mentioned by Dana before, there are all kinds of issues and barriers for this market. And they are usually on the supply and on the demand side of that market side, let's say. And so it's about knowledge barriers, it's about qualification barriers, it's about also qualification and certification of products and services. Here we are at the quality standards for the systems. And I think this is also a very nice area where regional cooperation really makes sense to set standards for efficient equipment for productive uses, for example. So when we see in Africa, but I'm sure that also here in the Latin American region to some extent is an issue that you have then renewable energy powered off-grid equipment, but in the end, this equipment is not very efficient because there's no joint standard also, for example. So
Martin,
yeah.
Please, final remarks.
Final remarks. Yes. Also, I wanted to tap a bit about on this what Andre was presenting. I think this is really a very useful tool, this planning tool. I would emphasize in this context also because it was not mentioned before, with the climate change, no impact on the Latin American and Caribbean region, where particularly the Caribbean countries are impacted and the Central American countries are impacted, because this poses a threat to universal access, because we see the hit of hurricanes on Dominica, they destroy the entire infrastructure. So I want to emphasize also the importance of developing this resource integrated
Martin,
resource.
sorry, Martin, sorry to